My name is Zoe Butt. I'm a curator and a writer based in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. And I'm the executive director and curator of San Art, which is a non-profit, independent contemporary art organization. We were started by 4 established artists in 2007. And we've grown from a reading room, catering for educational purposes, libraries and teaching curricula in Vietnam is quite poor, so we wanted to tackle that community and bring in international ideas of contemporary art and culture. However, after a couple of months, we realized that the artists needed a space to work. So we started a space in the city center, and it did so well that in 2009 we relocated to another premise where we have a larger amount of space and now also a larger program where instead of just targeting artists, we also recognize the need for a community, a supportive interdisciplinary community, because in a context like ours, where culture has very little understanding on a general public level, where governments see contemporary culture as, sadly, they think it dangerous, we consider our job to try and make them aware that culture is actually an imperative part of society and that it is in fact a fulfilling aspect of everyday life. And we believe by partnering with a lot of different institutions, by employing and inviting different people from different disciplines, different age ranges, that we can increase the visibility of culture to not only those in Vietnam but also within broader Southeast Asia. So when the Prince Claus Fund asked if San Art would be interested in being a network partner, it was, of course, considering our growing mission to cater for a larger audience, not just within Vietnam, but also to have access to a network like Prince Claus, whose international reach is as broad as what we were trying to do. And one of these trying aspects was recognizing that in Vietnam, we exacerbate our relationships between the colonial rubrics of the past. So we have very strong relationships with France, with the Danish Institute, with Australia, with the US, and we have a lot of exchange relationships in that way, but we do not think about how from south to south our relations are, there's a lot more thematic familiarity, cultural familiarity, and so the Prince Claus being willing to support Conscious Realities, that's the program we're running, where we bring speakers from South Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America and Africa over 3 years to bring their expertise and experience. And our collaborations just after only 1 year has been really phenomenal. On the local level, we are working with 4 different universities, and we've had a number of visiting artists, including the speakers, come and visit, and it's really encouraged our local community to question what exactly does contemporary art look like to a scientist or to an engineer or to an architect or an anthropologist. And so we've done really interesting programs with hospitals, eye clinics, architectural firms, fashion boutiques, and all of this really could not have kick-started were it not for Prince Claus believing in this vision being necessary for the Vietnamese context that we live and try to work. I've only been to one other committee meeting before this, which was in Ouagadougou, and that experience for me was phenomenal in meeting the locals and better understanding why that network partner's work is so phenomenal. And coming to Kathmandu, I think it was also a desire to see your network also. How do you work at what works, what doesn't work? And I get a lot of feedback, inspiration, from hearing how other network partners are working. And I think that helps me try to implement the program where I am. But as a curator and a writer, I love meeting new things, new people, better understanding how our cultures are similar or different. So it's a learning process. It's also great to meet new people and brainstorm ideas and have another peer network where you can say, look, I'm having trouble with this, I don't quite know how to work it, and know that there's a lot of other people around me who might have had a similar experience and can give advice. I think for most of the partners in the Prince Clous, we are doing really pioneering work that hasn't been done before. So the chance to actually physically be in the same place means a lot. I don't think that sadly there's enough of it. There's a lot of artist retreats and residencies, but there's not really enough for the people that actually work it, where we sit between, say, a political endeavour, or we sit between sort of, very grassroots work. I think that most of the network partners are established where they are, but we all do still struggle with the financing of things, and with also being able to politically sustain our motivations. So. Well, on a personal level, I just did a project with a Cham poet in Vietnam, and I learnt about the migration of Hinduism and Buddhism across South Asia to Southeast Asia. And he mentioned some really interesting things about the Cham. Bini Islam is a very esoteric, syncretic form of religion that encapsulates both Islam, Hinduism and Buddhism. And I'm interested in the cultural life, like we were hearing from Kanak this morning about Buddhism and Hinduism living quite side by side. So on a personal level, in terms of research, I'm interested in that. I also would like to see more of the contemporary art here in Nepal, so I'm kind of hoping to get some time to see that. And then on a meeting basis of being with these wonderful people, just to become better friends. This is my only second time with everybody, so.